Well, Theresa Williamson joins us now for more on this. She's the Executive Director of Catalytic Communities. That's a Rio-based NGO that supports the city's favelas. Theresa, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for talking to us. I want to start by asking you what impact these games will have on Rio's poorest communities, both over the next couple of weeks and in the longer term as well.
Yeah, well, we've seen, an exacerbation of existing historic inequalities here in Rio in the lead up to the games. So these huge amounts of capital and funds coming in and investing in areas of the city that weren't high priority. In the meantime, up to 80,000 people were evicted from their homes all over the city, but mostly in the West Zone for the building of the Trans-Olympic highway and bus route. And next to the stadium, the favela Vila Autódromo was removed. Next to the soccer stadium, Metro Mangueira was removed. So we've seen quite a lot of forced evictions, and then also an increase in police violence in these communities. They're historically already targeted by the police, but it's escalated. So we've seen an increase over previous years. Over 2,500 people have been killed by the police since the announcement of the Olympic Games.
If we're talking about tens of thousands of people being removed, where have they been moved to?
So Rio is quite large geographically. It's a couple of hours kind of east-west city, and what we've more than half of the public housing has been built in the extreme west of the city, in an area that's controlled by kind of vigilante groups. So we've put people at risk basically, and we've pushed them further away from jobs and hospitals and schools. And some people also got financial compensation, but not anywhere near the rate they would need to buy an equivalent home to what they had before. So generally speaking, with these forced evictions, we've seen people's standard of living actually deteriorate as a result. And of course, in a city as known for inequality as Rio is, with all these historic issues around race and inequality, to have that happen, it's kind of fueling a growing tension, which we'll see, unfortunately, for years to come.
Have any of the poorest communities in Rio benefited from these games in any way?
There might be individuals who benefit. There might be some people who got jobs during the construction, and there are some communities that received some investments, but those were not Olympic related. When investments did happen, it was kind of some asphalt on a road here, often as a political favor, that kind of very small scale improvements. So there's nothing really to speak of. And if you ask people in favelas, you get a constant kind of murmur of frustration that none of these resources have trickled down or supported residents.
So who is going to benefit then from the investment that Rio has seen in recent years?
Yeah, unfortunately, the only interest that we can say will benefit, and you can look at all the investments, whether it's forced evictions, whether it's building high-rises, the media village, which is being built on a slave cemetery. It was built on a slave cemetery. I mean, these kinds of extreme things, you can see all of them benefit real estate and construction interests, gravel companies, industries that already are very wealthy in Rio and that are often tied to political candidates, and also, own the newspapers and so on. Unfortunately, it's kind of a small group that really benefit from the games here in Rio.
Okay, Theresa, thank you very much for giving us those views this afternoon. Thank you.